The dropship was just about ready. A dozen of my finest, loaded up and well armed. The plan and objective was simple enough. Intercept the space station and drill through the side nearest the control center that we can. Several of us have the tools and know-how to gain control of the automated defenses once we were in there, though our pilot is the one designated to do so, as they are by and large the least likely to mess it up. Colara Desvo. Took me years to learn how to pronounce that properly, after a lot of chastising. Wouldn't have taken it if they weren't such a damn good pilot, though. Give them a dropship or a fighter craft, and they'll make sure you get to where you need to go, or keep the others away from you. In a pinch, they can take helm of the command craft itself, but the AI generally gives us a smoother ride. I'm always nervous about taking them on missions where they aren't safely behind some controls. But I think I drilled it into them to stay behind our lines as much as they possibly can. Should be easy enough for them. They recently shifted into a sleeker form, and while it doesn't seem as durable as what they were before, I can't argue with their agility. Everyone seems happy enough and confident. I think the credits of this mission got leaked. No one is fessing up, but I'll admit a bonus is on its way. I already decided that, but the command craft can use some repairs, so I don't know how much I'll be able to put aside. I suppose it'll depend on what we'll be able to sell those A-Rock craft for that they're offering up. But if I learned anything from my half-century in conflict, it's that you can't count the coin before it's in your hand. 1,000 things can still go wrong. And to be honest, something isn't sitting quite well with me. Why are mercs being sent on this mission instead of the Queen's own warriors? The handwave of politics doesn't seem to make sense to me. This station has soulless, as the mechanicals would call them. No real sentience, just protocols and routine. The treaties that the Queen cited seems to only affect habited stations, and early recon very much implies that that isn't the case here. Only violent automaton seemingly wandering around its desolated halls. I guess I'll find out firsthand. Colara is already in the cockpit, and it seems most of the troops are strapped down and ready to go. Even Vinico is there, sitting next to our newest hire, an experienced Varakian named Vara. I gave Vinico one last chance to back out, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised he didn't take it. Told the others to keep an eye on him, though. He's green, but he's not stupid, so unless things go bad for a lot of us, we should be able to keep him safe and have him go on a second mission as well.
Captain, all checks have been done. We launch at your command.
All clear, pilot. Launch at your discretion.
Welcome to the Void, everyone. Today we will discuss the vibrant, elegant, and ever-shifting Aquatearians. These aquatic beings are some of the most plentiful inhabitants of the galaxy of our strange, strange future. Diplomatic, or perhaps just rather talkative, the Aquatearians were the first to put forward treaties and attempt to end the contact conflicts once the waygates were reactivated by the mechanicals. That isn't to say they were completely peaceful paragons of virtue, of course. While the Aquatearian water world of origin did not have any grand-scale wars like the majority of other children species of humanity, it certainly did have its share of conflicts that were oftentimes far more insidious and perhaps brutal. But before we discuss their society and culture, let us first describe them physically. The Aquatearians are humanoid creatures who thrive in oceanic terrains, able to breathe both water and air thanks to humanity's intervention. They can generally find places to live no matter where they are within the galaxy. They have techno-colored skin tones, and can have all kinds of frills, gills, or fins that protrude from their body. The most unique aspect of the Aquaterian, however, is perhaps their ability to metamorphosize into different body shapes. This stems from the nature of the creature that they were originally and primarily uplifted from, but has since played a role in their societies and civilizations. Originally, their animalistic ancestor would be able to shift from sleek yet powerful hunter-like shapes to large, colorful, egg-carrying body forms, and lastly to powerful, almost crustacean-like protector variants. Depending on what was needed for a certain school or colony of their kind to survive from predators or various environmental factors. This has, of course, transitioned since their uplifting, as they quite simply do not face the same environmental pressures, but instead they are replaced by societal, cultural, and personal ones. As such, any Aquaterian can metamorphosize into any of these forms, but also variations between them that best suit who they feel they are, either permanently or simply for a period of time in their life. More so than any other children species of humanity, the Aquaterians are always fluidly shifting between who and what they are in an elegant, creative, and beautiful way. These transformations can take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, depending on the conditions and whether or not they enter a comatose-like slumber to hasten the process. And no matter what, it generally requires a great deal of calories and energy to complete. The ability to change one's physical form plays a great role in Aquaterian society, how they view each other and themselves. It is an incredibly complex topic that we will certainly dig into during a series devoted to this species specifically. As previously stated, Aquaterian culture was less outright aggressive than most others. It was also far more commercial, with what could be best described as corporations ruling over the political landscape. As such, most conflicts were done in a more subtle, but oftentimes just as bloody way. That is to say, Aquaterian culture is a mercantile one. Governance is often led by oligarchs, always vying for more power, and not particularly caring how they accrue it. Even still, this diplomatic approach to the universe was what led them to be the first to truly make progress to unifying the children species of humanity, finding common ground with the mechanicals, Bractians, and even in small ways the others as well. Many Unity worlds themselves were begun by Aquaterian idealists, or perhaps just opportunists in some cases, though in nearly all situations, quickly became societies that strained far, far away from what the original intention was, for better or for worse. Aquaterians, as you can imagine, generally thrive upon Unity worlds, often finding themselves in positions of leadership, thanks to their natural charisma and willingness to work with others, very often putting themselves in these privileged positions. It doesn't hurt that the foundations of these Unity worlds were often built upon Aquaterian ideals, and thus giving them the edge to begin with in most cases. After all, most cities are coastal, and these individuals do not shy away from building some infrastructure well within the waters themselves, much to the dismay of those who live within the cities. When it comes to warfare and conflict, Aquaterians are no slouches. They have a better grip on the ubiquitous psionic abilities that exist in all sentient beings. They do not shy away from learning these techniques either, and exploring that facet of their soul. And in times of war, they will often lean on it to gain an advantage over others. Though it is best to talk about that when we learn a bit more about psionics in a future video. Finally, we will end how we always do. How the Aquaterians view humanity. Upon learning the truth of their creation, the general outlook of the Aquaterians was rather mixed, for many would just see their creators, so to speak, as another creature within the galaxy. another group to unify with, to trade with, to explore. While some others, perhaps more, let's call them ambitious beings, would worry about how humanity could be a threat to their influence and power that they have accrued. It does certainly depend on the individuals involved, and the context of any given situation. But for the most part, no Aquaterian would be submissive to humanity. The progressive, ambitious nature that is intertwined within their bodies and their culture, forcing them to simply see humans as simply those who came before them, went away, and are seemingly returning. In a way, this outlook is the most truthful and accurate of the situation, with not too much cultural bias baked in. But it is impossible to ignore the underlying context, the small spark of jealousy that some on the top of the Aquaterian social structures feel. We will discuss more about the Aquaterians and their culture, history, and their place in the setting in a proper series dedicated to them in due time. But next we have the Vractians, the Mechanicals, and of course humanity to come. Stick around, future videos will be released on Wednesdays and Sundays. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.